Hey, what's up, people of the world? It's Bradley, Pastor Bradley from Rachel's office once again. Welcome back this week. Hopefully, you are finding your way okay. We tried to go above and beyond to show you where to go on our website this week, so hopefully that worked and you're here. Blake's here. I see Blake. Hopefully, Tyler Yeomans came back. Thanks, Derek, for those songs. Man, I'm glad that worked this time. Good work, man. Appreciate you. Eli, what's up, Eli? I see Eli Ritchie raising his digital hand, his yellow digital hand. Maggie is here. What up, Maggie? Katie Barr. Oh, Katie. Terrible spelling, Katie. Wow. Shame on you. Just kidding. Love you. What's up, Reese? Hey, glad you guys are tuning in. Appreciate you all. Thank you for sticking with us. Who's going crazy at home so far? Who's going nuts? The starter pack, quarantine starter pack of Netflix and walking around outside is not working anymore, and you're going a little bonkers. Anybody? I had some moments this week. I will admit, where I wanted to pull maybe 1,000 or 2,000 of my hairs out. I would have plenty left over, probably. That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, I'll still have some more if I pull these. Okay, hey, what's up, Lily, Jordan? I see you guys. Oh, it says Katie Barr, message retracted. Yeah, thanks for taking that terrible spelling out of there. Appreciate that very much from you. Oh, Nick texted me. Thanks, Nick. Nick Blaylock's here. We got some Birchmeier people. Ember, thanks for that lovely video that you sent me of your sister grooving hard. She was really cutting the rug there. Yeah. Hey, glad you're here. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's Easter time. Yeah, we're starting an Easter series. So we're going to be in this series for 3 weeks. It's Palm Sunday today. Next week is Easter, and then we'll do one more after that. Series called Happy Easter. And Easter is supposed to be a happy time, right? It's supposed to be a cheerful, happy time. There's candy everywhere. I personally love the Starburst jelly beans as my favorite one. The other candy is just okay. Starburst jelly beans rock my world. I've already eaten 2 bags of them so far this Easter season. And but the thing about Easter, when I was a kid, I hated the Easter bunny. I was really just scared of the Easter bunny. I was scared of Santa Claus. Anybody who's got a costume on and is supposed to be like a life-size character, okay, Disney World would have probably killed me, honestly. And the reason is because look at these bunnies. I mean, are you kidding me with this? It looks like there's like a blood on this bunny's tongue. I'm going, what in the world? It's so frightening. How about this one? Look at this. This girl has no idea that she's about to be eaten. Are you kidding me with those eyes? Look at the vicious. See, the dog is how I feel with the bunnies because a bunny should not be that big. It shouldn't be able to hold me. It's too scary. Very scary. This one is like, what in the world is happening? Why would somebody think that this is okay to do? So anyway, I was really scared of the Easter bunny when I was a kid, and it didn't really ruin Easter for me. It just made my happiness around the Easter season very fragile and vulnerable, right? Because when you're a kid, you get this. You could be happy and then go to scared like immediately. Actually, fear can take away our happiness faster than almost anything. It's amazing. You ever watch a horror movie? It's like a lot of times with the horror movies, it'll be really funny one moment and then bam, you go right into freaky. the next moment. And like, isn't that the thing? So when you're a kid, you're afraid of some stuff that maybe later you grow out of. You're not afraid of that stuff anymore. Like maybe you're afraid of there's like a monster under your bed. This is really just a dog toy, but it's a monster under your bed. Or maybe you're afraid of your favorite toy or your favorite thing like breaking and you can't see. You can't use it anymore. Or maybe you're afraid of getting sick, breaking your leg or breaking your arm, and you're a little kid and you can't do everything that your friends are doing. You're left out. You're at home by yourself. Or maybe you're afraid of the dark and you need a flashlight. Anybody carry one of these to bed with them? Flashlight. But even though you grow up and you get rid of some of those fears, the fear just kind of doesn't go away. It just grows with you. And then you're afraid of maybe like, failing a class or doing something stupid and your friend catches it on Instagram and then that's your nickname for the rest of your life. Or maybe you're afraid of being rejected by somebody. You put yourself out there. And you finally get up the courage to talk to your person that you have a crush on, and it's like they reject you, and you're like, "Excuse me, go away." It hurts, and it's fear. Or maybe, fear right now, obviously, maybe you're afraid of getting sick, or one of your family members getting sick. Maybe somebody in your family is on the front lines of this thing. Man, you got a healthcare professional in your family, or you got somebody who's in part of those infrastructure jobs and they can't stop working even though it's a little bit dangerous for them to do that, and you're afraid of that. Or maybe you're afraid because it's like, is the economy going to collapse? And if it does, like, will my parents lose their jobs, or will I be able to afford college, seniors next year, right? Or maybe you're just afraid that this season of isolation and separation and stuff is going to last forever. You're starting to feel like it maybe just won't go away. And so whether we like to admit it or not, even though we don't have our childish fears anymore, we still have different kind of fears that we carry with us. Fear just grows with us and changes a little bit as we get older. And I have a secret for you. Got to tell you something. The adults in your life have just as much fear as you do, probably. Fear grows with us. And the fact is, fear is determining the direction of a lot of our lives. A lot of times we make decisions based on fear. Like we make decisions not based on things that we're going for, but things that we're trying to prevent or avoid. We try to avoid people or conversations or situations sometimes that we're afraid of the consequences, or we're afraid about what might happen or how it went last time, and so we just stay away from those people and situations. Sometimes we're afraid of being alone with our own thoughts because our thoughts can be dark and depressing and scary, so we just sort of like numb out. We get the phone, we get Netflix, we get whatever. We just sort of like go into a media coma and so that we don't have to face up to that stuff. And really, the biggest thing that we can fear, and really the root of all fear, is death. The fear of death. And you guys, I'm not trying to go like super weird and morbid on you right now. This series is called Happy Easter, and now I'm talking about death. Okay, sorry. No, I'm not trying to freak you out. I'm just trying to say, really, what we're afraid of at the end of the day is death. And maybe it's not just a physical death. Maybe it's death in the sense of losing something that I'll never get back. Having a permanent negative change that I can't avoid or change back. That's scary. Like, what if I show my true self to my friends and the friendships don't continue after that? They see me differently and it just doesn't work anymore. Or what if I apply to my dream school and I get rejected? Now my dream is dead. What if my parents knew what I was doing when they weren't around? They would never see me as their perfect little kid anymore. And I don't know if I can handle that sense of guilt and shame. So maybe it's death physically that you're afraid of at the end of the day. Maybe it's the just a permanent change, losing something that you never get back. And that's where Easter comes in, actually, is to address the fear of death. That's the reason that Easter can be happy, is because it meaningfully tackles the issue of why we don't need to be afraid of death or anything else anymore. The life, death, and resurrection of Jesus is what Easter is all about. It's not about the bunny or the candy. For me, it's a little bit about the candy, but really it's about the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And one of the experts of that, one of the firsthand eyewitness people that spoke with Jesus, that we're going to talk about today, is Paul. We talk about Paul a lot because he's one of the most famous figures in the Bible, and there's a reason for that. He started out his life trying to scare people into leaving Christianity, and one of his main weapons was the threat of death. He would try to find Christians, round them up, throw them in prison, kill them if he could. And then he encountered Jesus, the Jesus that was supposed to have been dead but had miraculously come back to life. And that encounter obviously changed his entire life. He began to adopt as his mission in life to preach and explain to people why Jesus was the real deal, why he actually went from dead to alive, and why that mattered to people. And he endured a lot of stuff while he was doing that. His message wasn't popular at that time, and he got stoned. Not like no, like they threw rocks at him until they thought he was dead. Okay, and he was beaten within an inch of his life. He was in a terrible shipwreck. He was bitten by a snake one time. He went to prison a bunch, and eventually he was executed by the Roman government. But in spite of all of this stuff that he went through, Paul seemed to live life without a fear of death. I don't know about you, but that's attractive to me. That's intriguing to me. Actually, these are some of Paul's words about death. Listen to this. It's in case you have your phone Bible systems like I do. This is coming from 1 Corinthians 15, 54, and 55. Death is swallowed up in victory. Oh, death, where is your victory? Oh, death, where is your sting? Paul has got some guts, man. He's like taunting death. He's so nonchalant about the fact that he will eventually lose his physical life that he's like taunting death. He's like, okay, fine. Kill me, you guys. You guys that are imprisoning me and beating me and throwing rocks at me. Fine, if you kill me, whatever. I'll just do like Jesus did and come back to life and live forever with Jesus, which is actually way better for me than sticking around here with you guys. He wasn't afraid of that. And I think it's because Paul realized that since Jesus had gotten out of the grave, gone from dead to alive, he was proving that we don't have to fear death anymore. You see, Paul understood that death can no longer defeat us. It's no longer the last word on our life. When Jesus was crucified, they took his body off the cross and they put it in a tomb. And that day, all of Jesus's closest friends and family members thought that the dream was dead with him. They thought that all of Jesus's teaching was pointless now. They thought that all of Jesus's miracles were for nothing. They were depressed. They were in disbelief that after all of this, Jesus would just die and the story would be over. But when he rose to life, they took it as proof that he was really the Son of God, like he said he was the entire time. And Paul grasped that. He understood that when he met Jesus, he realized the scariest things out there in life are not actually always the most powerful. You ever think about that? What if the scariest things about our lives aren't actually the most powerful? What if just because they're scary doesn't mean that they define me? What if just because I'm scared of something, it doesn't mean that I'm a slave to it, or that it controls me, or that it has the last word? You know, that's what's cool about Easter. Easter means that fear isn't final. Fear isn't final. And I can say that not even knowing what it is that you're afraid of. I just know that if Jesus could go from dead to alive, that if he can defeat death, literally, he could probably take care of anything that you are afraid of, anything else that you are afraid of. Now look at, when we celebrate Easter next Sunday, chances are your problems are not just all going to go away. Chances are your fears aren't just all going to go away. So what does that mean? What does that mean for Easter? What does that mean for Happy Easter? What's the point then if it doesn't fix anything about my life? Well, what if we thought about it in a different way? Sure, maybe the school year could be over, and depending on your situation, you might not have the chance through online school to get those grades back to where you need them to be in order to pass the class. And so you're afraid that your GPA is going to suffer, that you're not going to be able to get into a good school or do whatever you're trying to do after high school, and that your future is going to be ruined. But what if we could think, even if I fail this class, no class or teacher or curriculum or report card or transcript is the final word on what I'm worth as a person? What if we could grasp the fact that there is no single grade or teacher or class or acceptance letter or rejection letter from college that can determine what your future holds? If Jesus can go from dead to alive, he can probably figure out how to give you a great future, even if you get an F in your class, even if you graduate with a 2.0, right? If Jesus can go from dead to alive, 2.0 GPA is nothing to him. He can still make something of you. He can. What if, on Easter, we celebrate Easter and we're like, yeah, Jesus went from dead to alive, but I still don't like what I see when I look in the mirror. I still think that I'm ugly, or I think that I'm too tall, or I'm too short, or I'm too wide, or too thin, or too whatever. And that's not going to solve that problem. It's not going to solve that for me. It's not going to change my body into something that I want it to be. But guess what? What if we thought that if Jesus can go from dead to alive, maybe there's a way he can teach me how to accept myself for who I am with my body. If Jesus can go from in the grave to breathing all by himself, then maybe he has the ability to show you that you're so much more than the way your body looks to other people. You're worth so much more than that. Okay, maybe celebrating Easter is going to be weird this year because we're doing it in isolation, away from our family and our friends. And that may not change by next week. Actually, I would be surprised if this whole quarantine situation was lifted by next Sunday. But that doesn't change the fact that if Jesus could go from dead to alive, if he could go from no heartbeat to having a pulse, if he could go from no oxygen in his lungs to respirating normally, that he could figure out how to make this Easter mean something to us, even though we don't get to eat ham with all of our cousins, right? You guys, here's the thing. Because of Jesus's death and resurrection, fear isn't final. We don't have to just accept that there are things in our life that are going to totally define us and trap us and dominate us and control us so that God can't do what he wants to do in our life. If Jesus can go from dead in a grave to alive, walking around, eating, drinking, breathing, then he can probably figure out how to address whatever your situation is and get you through it. If you were with us this morning for the live stream and the main service, we sang Waymaker, right? And that's who God is. That's who Jesus is. He's the waymaker when there is no way. He figures out how to do that. He can work miracles in your life. He keeps all of his promises to you. He promised to always be with you, never to leave you or forsake you. And here's another promise that I think is wild. That comes from Romans 8. Look at this. The Spirit of God who raised Jesus from the dead lives in you. And just as God raised Christ Jesus from the dead, he will give life to your mortal bodies through this same Spirit living within you. Let me hit you with that again. I don't know if you got it. I don't know if you were ready for that. The Spirit of God who raised Jesus from the dead lives in you. And just as God raised Jesus from the dead, he will give life to your mortal bodies through the same Spirit. You guys, this is a promise that if we put our faith in Jesus, he gives us his Spirit, the same Spirit that made him go from dead to alive. That's mind-boggling. It's like your mind's caught in a bottle and it can't get out. No, that's not how it goes. But so, okay, look it. Let me ask you a question. Where is fear holding you back? Where is fear holding you back? In your relationships? Are you afraid to get real? You afraid to get real with people? Maybe you're afraid to get real with the people that are in your small group at church. Now more than ever, because we're doing this weird video thing and it doesn't feel like the right time to try to get all real all of a sudden. Maybe you're afraid in your relationships of being too real and being rejected for it. Fear's holding you back, man. Fear's holding you back. Don't allow that to do that. If Jesus goes from dead to alive, he can probably lead you to the right group of friends who is going to accept you for who you are. And guess what? I believe he already has, and they're right here in your church family. Where's fear holding you back? Are you dreaming too small about your future? Hey, listen, every year I like to go and sit in on Clio High School exit interviews for seniors, and I'm amazed how often seniors have like 2 different presentations. They give a PowerPoint about like, here's what my plan is after high school. Here's all the steps that I need to do to make that plan happen. And a lot of times when I go in there, a student will come in and they'll present 2 different plans. One of them will sound super sweet and exciting, and the other one will be like really boring and realistic. And you can tell that somebody somewhere came along into their life and said, hey, don't shoot so high. You're going to disappoint yourself when it doesn't work out. Get realistic about this. Let me ask you a question. Are you being realistic? Are you being smart? Or are you being scared? Only you can answer that, but I'm asking you, is fear holding you back in the area of your future? Maybe going to college or dealing with something concerning your mental health that you're afraid to open up about, or doing something that you know you're supposed to do and you should do, but it might hurt your reputation with some of your friends that honestly aren't that good of an influence with you. Maybe you're exploring your faith in Jesus as something that you're holding back on because you're afraid of what you might find out doubt-wise that's out there. You're afraid of being convinced that your faith isn't real, or I don't know what it is. What's holding you back when it comes to fear? Talk about that in your small group today. And another thing I hope you talk about in your small group is this. What steps should you take to prove that fear doesn't have power over you? What steps should you take to prove that fear doesn't have power over you? Because guess what? The opposite of fear is not courage. The opposite of fear is trust. Here's the question about fear. Do you trust that the same Jesus who went from dead to alive loves you and has a good plan for your life that he wants to tell to you and show to you over time? Do you trust that? If you do, you need to take a step. You need to take an action step. We do this all the time, right? Like, you remember us doing this before. We're standing in the loft. I call a volunteer up. I say, there's a difference between belief and trust. And then we do a trust fall, right? I get the person up there and I'm like, okay, stand in front of me, face that way. And on the count of 3, just fall backwards into my arms and I will catch you. Like 9 times out of 10, that person catches themselves. They don't fall all the way. They're like, oh, oh, right? And I'm like, don't you trust me? You told me you trust me. I'm going to catch you. I'm right here catching you. You told me you trust me. And they're like, I do trust you. I do trust you. I just don't want to fall into your arms. I feel like you might drop me. And I'm like, I thought you trusted me. And they said, I do trust you. And I say, no, you don't. Because you think that I'm going to drop you onto the cement floor. We need steps to take. What is a step that you could take to show God, hey, I'm believing in you right now. I'm taking your invitation not to be held back by fear. What's a step? Maybe you need to forgive somebody. You need to forgive somebody. Maybe you need to apologize to somebody. Maybe you need to see a doctor or a professional, start a conversation, mental health wise. Maybe you need to tell your parents something that you never told them before so that they can know you better. Maybe you need to ask your small group leader for help with something you've been afraid to admit that you're struggling with. Maybe you need to pick a friend group that's better. And guess what? This is a perfect time because we're all apart from each other. Maybe you need to ask some honest questions about Christianity that you feel like might even stump me. Maybe that's what you need to do. Do it. What's a decision? What's a choice? A step you can take today to prove that fear doesn't have power over you anymore. That's my prayer for us as we think about Easter, as we worship together online next Sunday, that we won't just think about Easter as another holiday, eat some ham, some jelly beans, and stay far away from the Easter bunny and find some eggs at our house and okay, what's next? What's next on Monday? But that we would understand that the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead lives in us, and we don't have to view fear as final. I think we can do it. And so here in a minute I'm going to pray, and then we'll go to our groups. Our groups will be on Zoom just like they have been for the past 2 weeks. If you don't know how to connect with your group, just text me. I'm gonna write my number in here again. Oh, sorry, it's showing that. I'm not supposed to show that, but okay, I commented my number. You should be able on the website. If you can't see the YouTube comments right now on the website, on the page, that the student ministry page of the website, you can click email and email me if you need to. Just talk to me. I'd love to help you get connected. I know it's a little bit weird to get connected to these video groups, but that's what I'm here for. Help us stay connected during this weird time. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Let's go to groups, and I'll pray here in a second, and we'll be done. Jesus, love you. Thank you so much that you defeated death. You defeated the greatest enemy that we have. And you proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that you love us and that you're powerful enough to help us in our life. And so help us as we try to take steps to trust you. And it's in your name we pray, Jesus. Amen. Amen. Let's go to groups. Love you guys.